Welcome back to the D1Softball podcast. Jenna Becerra here with my co-host Amanda Lorenz. And if you haven't heard, the show is part of the Learfield Family and Varsity Network. So when you're out of town and you want to keep up with live college sports, be sure to download the free Varsity Network app available for both Apple and Android. Get your games on the go with the Varsity Network app. Amanda, every week it seems like more and more craziness happens. So here we are after week
Yeah,
2.
I love it. It was such a great week, especially with the Shriners Invitational in Clearwater. So definitely lots to talk about.
Plenty to talk about. So today's lineup, we'll talk through the new top 25 rankings, a little bit about week 2, and then we'll head into our interview with San Diego State head coach Stacey Nuveman, and of course our plays of the week and our win and whiff of the week. Lots to get through. So why don't we just go ahead and jump in to the top 25. It's so early in the season still, so I feel like we have to keep reminding folks of that. This is a point in time in what will develop over the course of the entire season. So why don't we just look at what the top 25 looks like this week, first of all. So when we take a look at this, Texas unanimously took over the number 1 spot. So they did get a pair of wins over Texas Tech, including the Tegan Kavan, Nigel Kennedy duel that ended up in the Longhorns' favor. They did run rule them the second time that they played as well. Oklahoma now in number 2 after an undefeated weekend. They did get a couple wins over former Big 12 rival Baylor in Waco. And then Florida State, and LSU rounding out the top 5. Florida lost their first game of the season to Duke after they beat them earlier in the weekend, so they split. And then the Seminoles and the Tigers both had undefeated weekends as well. 3 teams who are entering the poll for the first time this season. Number 18, Auburn. Number 19, San Diego State. Number 24, South Carolina. Undefeated in Clearwater for both Auburn and San Diego State. And then South Carolina so far undefeated on the year, 10-0. So does break out by conference. 7 different conferences are represented. So the SEC still leading the way with 12 teams, 7 in the top 10. The ACC has 4. Big 12 and the Big 10 have 3. And then the Mountain West, American, and Conference USA each have 1. Lots of changes to take a look at. So, Amanda, what are your gut reactions after taking a look at this?
Really excited about San Diego State and really excited about Auburn. I think that those are my 2 key takeaways, especially from Clearwater. Just how different this Auburn team looks, especially with the Malvos taking over. They've obviously done such a great job of rebuilding that program. And then also, obviously, Texas, I think, justified them, and Oklahoma being at the top. Florida dropping that one to Duke, it makes sense why they would drop, especially, it wasn't like they dropped a heartbreaker. It was definitely in Duke's. Duke was in control the whole game for that second game at least. So yeah, so those are my key takeaways. What about you?
Yeah, I think similar, especially seeing San Diego State, for example, and Auburn in person and getting to chat with some players on the team and just understand how fired up they are for this season. I think one of the things that I took away from Clearwater in general was that a lot of people feel like, hey, you're going to see our program. We're coming for you. Like we're going to beat some people this year. And just having that mentality, I think is part of what elevated San Diego State and Auburn in a very, very tough Clearwater Invitational. And that is one question I'm glad you mentioned for the top, just the shuffling a little bit in the top 3, because we do get questions about that. But Texas and Oklahoma are the ones who remain undefeated out of that top tier in this particular poll. So that is sort of how it landed. And they were unanimous. Florida was unanimous number 1 last week. Right. And so this time now it was Texas. But again, so early in the season, like this is not necessarily what it's going to be in May and June, but it is what it looks like right now, according to our staff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing that we've been asked before too is you'll notice that a few people did drop out of the poll this week. Alabama dropping out is one of them. And so we got questions about that. I would say, and I'd love your thoughts too, Amanda, they're 5-5 at the time of these rankings. Now they're 6-5 because they beat Jacksonville State in a midweek game. They did go 1-4 in Clearwater. It was a tough slate. They played San Diego State, Liberty, UCLA, Oklahoma State. Those are their losses, which are all ranked teams in this week's poll. I think what's tough is that they blew 4 leads. They've scored first in all of those games except for Liberty. They didn't score first, but they answered fairly quickly. So they're giving up important runs late in the game. They've lost to every ranked team they faced this year, but I want to give them credit for their strength of schedule this early.
Sure.
By no means is it that they won't be back. This is just, again, right at this moment where it shakes out. And there's plenty of softball to be played.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, 5-5, and someone had to drop out and someone had to enter. If we wanted Auburn and San Diego State to make the rankings, which obviously not ranked last week, and they very much deserve to be in that top 25 conversation, especially with the week 2 that they had with their key wins and grinding through some wins, especially late in the game. So you can compare those 2 teams and be like, it's a no-brainer that you would rather Auburn be in versus Alabama at this point in the season.
Right. And OU beating Baylor too, outside of Clearwater twice.
Yeah.
I think keeps them near the top as well. So very, very tough. I will say every week having to put these together, it's not easy. And that's what it is too, is when you feel strongly that a team should be higher or lower, or a team should be in, another team should be out. It's hard to find what other change would you make to make that happen? Because there are a lot of teams that are very competitive, and all of them are chomping at the bit. Well, also, we've talked about Clearwater a little bit, but let's dig into not just Clearwater, but just week 2, a little bit of a recap in general. So I was in Clearwater, which was super exciting. Amanda, I know you and I were texting throughout the weekend, as usual. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty cool. In terms of results, seeing 3 of the 16 teams went undefeated. So we've talked about Auburn and San Diego State, but the thing that was really impressive about Auburn is they played 6 games. So they played the most games also and were undefeated. They were 6-0, the Aztecs 5-0, and then Florida State, of course, too, a very great showing, and they were 4-0 with the games that they played. That's not necessarily, at least Auburn and San Diego State, I don't know if people would have picked those 2, beforehand to go undefeated, but that's why it's so great to actually see games played. And seeing it on TV, I'm sure was an interesting perspective too, Amanda.
Absolutely. ESPN does such a great job, especially at Clearwater. There's definitely gives the postseason vibe of so many games going on that you just are trying to figure out how to have multiple screens so that you can take it all in. But I think, you'll hear it later in the episode when we get to interview Coach Stacey Nuveman from San Diego State. But just talking about it's postseason softball so early and such a big challenge for these teams early in the season. So it's just so fun to watch, to see their preparation in the fall come to fruition, especially early in the season, to see how tough these teams really are, because that's what it comes down to, right? Toughness and figuring out how to grind through a win late in the innings against some really, really good teams. And that's what it was. It was just every single game was really fun to watch, and didn't feel like even when there was a lead, it was never a comfortable lead. And definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch. And another thing that we did as a staff, there was a good group of us in Clearwater in person. So we did put together an all-tournament team from the D1Softball staff. And this is what it looked like. So MVP of the tournament, Kennedy Harp, she was absolutely unreal, having a breakout performance, I would say, so far this season, but incredibly difficult to narrow this down to this group. But 10 different teams actually of the 16 are represented in this, led by Florida State having 3. But Auburn with a couple, San Diego State's represented, Oklahoma State with a couple, Maddie Moore from Clemson, Crenshaw from Mizzou, Watley from Liberty, Vandegrift from Alabama, Woolery from UCLA, couple from Texas A&M. There's quite a group here. And that was also incredibly difficult to narrow it down to, because we really had to dig into the stats for this, to be honest, because so many people, not only offensively too, but defensively, some great plays and solid backing up of the pitchers being made. But I would say you could start here, look at our social channels as well to get this. If you're listening in the audio version, you can take a look at who all made it. But just wanted to call that out because these folks in particular were extremely impressive. I would say as well, being there in person, so outside of just the games themselves, it was very cool to get the sense of reminder, I guess, of what it's all about. Like seeing young girls walking around, they had giant softballs this year with the Clearwater logo on it, and they were getting autographs, and they're just approaching every single team, running up to them, so excited after games, waiting for them outside the dugout. And then I even saw by like the Fan Fest area where they had different booths from different brands and folks who were there at the event itself, that I saw a little girl like hitting off a tee into a net, with what I would assume would be her mom or some relative or a friend. And I just thought that that is exactly why we love to do this. We love to cover this sport, but just love to be a part of it in any way that we can. And then also player families wearing matching homemade t-shirts was absolutely epic. Seeing it from multiple teams, but examples that stick out in my mind are San Diego State, Callie Decker and Shannon Cunningham. Both their families just had like matching t-shirts that they clearly designed on their own, and they were all just there to support their players. And those are those sort of, I don't know, extra intangible things that make the experience even better.
Yeah, so cool. I think, the most special thing about our sport is the accessibility. I feel like, any young softball player, they go to games and it really feels like they're able to, take a picture with their favorite player and get to see them close up and personal. So just so cool to see that in Clearwater of getting to see these amazing women playing on this stage, playing on ESPN, and showing like you keep going, you can do anything you want with this sport. So definitely really, really awesome.
Exactly. You're a good example of that too, Amanda. Just saying.
You too, Jenna.
Thanks, Amanda. But you especially. There was also fun stuff. I liked some throwbacks. Joe Bruin, like the throwback logo for UCLA was on their helmets. They literally had sliding mitts with Joe Bruin on them, so it almost looked like a teddy bear, like on their hands. I think it made no context softball a couple of times because you're like, wait, what is going on here? But you saw it on the base pads. So it was funny.
So cool. Definitely everything being branded and fun way to show school spirit.
Yeah. And the throwback Alabama elephant logo on the unis that they debuted on Sunday too was also cool to see. Like just seeing the callbacks,
Love it.
It's like a little nod to not only like the fun part, but also like, hey, the people and everyone who contributed to building the program to what it is. It feels like a little like salute to them as well. Outside of Clearwater, plenty of softball going on too, even though Clearwater was like definitely a focal point this past week. One thing that I wanted to call out is the Leonard Moody HBCU Softball Invitational. So AUSL, where Amanda plays in that league, was one of the sponsors, and it was 16 top HBCU teams that got to compete. Odyssey Alexander and Aaliyah Andrews were on site supporting, and it turned out that Prairie View A&M were the tournament champions, and they won the Watley Cup. And I just think that's a really cool event that's been put on in recent years, and something that if you haven't checked it out yet, go take a look at everything that went down this past weekend, because I think it was a really cool part of our softball community.
Yes, and Janae Jefferson on staff with Prairie View, so really cool. And then I feel like I saw so many TikTok dances and cool collabs between Odyssey and Aaliyah and all the players there. So definitely really awesome.
Yeah. It's always cool to see when the pros like you guys are involved still at the college level. Any type of connection or bridge between those worlds, I think, is so important.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, did you see the article in the Oklahoman? Ryan Aber wrote this, but it was about OU softball's revenue and their ticket sales.
I just saw this actually yesterday.
Yes. So cool.
So cool.
So to give everyone some background, ticket sales only was over $2.6 million. This is based on 2024. That was nearly $600,000 more than men's basketball and women's basketball at OU combined. And it was more than 80% of ticket sales among women's sports at OU as a whole. So just obviously a huge part of the share going towards our sport is very exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, such a testament to what they've built at OU, right? To like by a landslide, them in football is what the fans are showing up for. And then also it makes so much sense now that we saw before in preseason, Coach Gasso had gone on some press conferences saying like, yeah, we want to show up to these mid majors and we're going to make sure that they're charging for tickets. Playing at LMU, and they're like, nope, but we have free admission. And she's like, no, not for our game. You're going to charge this and make the prices whatever you want, but you're going to make money off of this because it will sell out. So obviously they definitely understand the pull that they have with softball fans showing up, and really cool for her to demand that of the mid majors, saying no, like we're coming and you're going to make some money off of this, and we want to make sure that happens. And just really cool and to have the data to back it up, because we can say it for so long, like, right, like people are showing up, they're watching us, but to see it with those numbers in front of your face, it really makes it such a matter of fact, like this is really happening, and it's awesome to see.
Yes, 100%. And that's just ticket sales that we're talking about.
Yeah.
The total revenue for OU softball was over $4.1 million, which was far and away number one in the women's sports category at OU. Women's basketball was second, around $3 million. So just putting it all in context too, not just our sport, but compared to the other sports. And we're supportive of all women's sports. But
Sure.
The fact that softball is getting so much attention, and that's one of the big things that OU has done, not just the 4 championships, it's this part of the impact that they've had on the game as well. One other thing that was outside of Clearwater, we've talked last week about how Stanford is playing in the football stadium on campus. But some of the stats that came out have been pretty impressive. They actually are, if you look at the stats, the number one offense in the country right now after the weekend, as the weekend wrapped up, in terms of they have over 10 runs per game that they're averaging, 10.33 to be exact. And then their slash line as a group is all tops in the nation right now. 460 batting average, 813 slugging, 534 on base percentage. And then they're in the top 10 for total runs, RBIs, home runs, and some other categories as well. So just calling out a West Coast team to keep an eye on. They scored 58 runs this past weekend. They hit 15 home runs. All 5 games they had run rule wins, and they've actually had 7 straight run rule wins. This is just something that I think is worth paying attention to. I mean, in the past, Coach Alister said it herself in the fall report, pitching was really protecting some young defenders that they had. They had an entire underclassmen group in the infield, for example, last year. This year, she said, our hitters and our defense are going to be kind of protecting our pitchers a little bit in terms of they have less innings pitched under their belt. They're younger. There's a freshman, a sophomore, and they do have one senior in Kylie Chung. But she said herself, she got less opportunities than she probably should have, just because there were such a deep staff previously. So just taking a look at that, yes, they're undefeated. But the biggest test yet is coming this weekend, playing their first-ranked teams. They play Arizona twice and Texas on the road in Tucson. And still seeing some of these old conference matchups this early in the season is a little interesting. It's crazy, but we're getting them. And so I'm just interested in seeing how the offense shows up, and the team as a whole, but the offense in particular right now with this first big test.
Yes, can't wait to see that, and I love that. Opening first 2 weeks in their football stadium, they're saying we're going to put on a show. Our athletic department gave us this opportunity to play in the football stadium. We're going to make sure that we're hitting some big girl bombs and putting up some runs to make it known. I love it.
So fun to watch these teams do those types of things, especially a team like San Diego State. We've mentioned them, and we actually got to talk to their fearless leader in Stacey Nuveman as well. And we'll just head right into that interview. We are here with Stacey Nuveman, San Diego State head coach, professional head coach as well with the Bandits in the AUSL, and of course, a three-time Olympic medalist and national champ in her day. We are so excited to have you, Nuvi. Thank you for joining us after a crazy weekend in Clearwater.
Yes, excited to be here on a bright and early Monday morning after a wild weekend.
Wild is one word for it. That's kind of where I'll start because the travel and all of that combined into it, but going undefeated, one of only 3 teams to do it, one of only 2 teams to do 5 or more games played on the weekend. And it's not like you faced any slouches. This was a pretty
No.
intense schedule for you. So what were the conversations like, before,
Yeah.
during, and after with the team?
Well, I mean, going into it, we really, our focus was the experience, and we wanted it to be a positive one, just in terms of enjoying it, enjoying the environment, enjoying the, like for a Callie Decker to come back home to Florida, letting her kind of play in front of her, not her hometown per se, but her home state. And just also, rolling with it. We knew that there was going to be some adversity. There was some weather in the forecast. Obviously, we're traveling a long distance, something that our program doesn't do a lot. I was reminded that this is normal for a lot of other programs to go 3 time zones, but for us, it's not. So that's a new experience. But that's why we did it, was to be put in a situation where we were challenged, where we were made a little uncomfortable. Obviously, playing against great competition, literally 5 games in a row, no breaks, no easy, like you said, no slouches. And then just, in being together, that's our first road trip. So first time, does everybody have their ID? Does everybody have their, like just the things that coaches have to do to make sure you're ready to hit the road. So it was all of those things. And, if you had told me that we'd walk away 5-0, I probably would have, I would have not believed that. But just so proud of how we played like true postseason softball, like in week 2, which it's funny. We ran into UCLA in the airport on the way home, and I saw Kelly Inouye, and I said, "It's awesome, and it's also a little scary, because you don't want to peak too soon, right?" Like, and she laughed. She goes, "Yeah, just enjoy it. Like, don't get too deep into it," which is totally fair. But I mean, we killed it. We played as good a softball as we've played, and just the consistently, doing it with the time change and being tired and being emotionally drained and all those things. That's been, I would say, historically a little bit of a challenge for us, is to like have a big game and we'll get a big win, and then the next game we might like be a little flat. And I did not feel like that happened, and that's a testament to the group of women we have, and just the energy, the belief, the trust they have in each other, and how much pride they have in this program and what they want to do, and their goals and aspirations. So I couldn't, I'm sitting here like, for lack of a better term, fat and happy, because it was awesome. It was just a great weekend, and just lots to work with, still lots to work on, lots of things that we didn't do as well as we'd like to, but cannot complain one bit.
I love it. I feel like this has been brewing for a long time in your program as well, just seeing the excellence, and especially at a mid-major, to have these kids look like they belong at all times has been really awesome to see. Like, what do you think goes into a fall preparing for that, of just making sure, especially your kids, know like they belong and they have the ability to beat some big time programs? Doesn't matter what's on the front of their jersey. No one knows between the white lines who's supposed to win. So I would love to hear just your process of preparing them in the fall to create those big moments so they can perform when it matters.
Well, we're really heavily reliant upon and committed to our culture, and that starts in the recruiting process. That starts whether it's freshmen coming in that we feel are going to be additions. We talk as a staff. It's not just adding softball players. It's adding culture pieces. It's adding clubhouse personalities. It's adding value to what we're doing. And there's different ways you can add value, right? Sometimes you add value because you can hit 20 home runs. And sometimes you add value because you're a phenomenal follower and you are just like totally bought in, you're excited to be there. So it's putting all of those pieces together, and then it's working on it. It's spending time on the culture. It's building relationships with players and coaches and players and players and all of the nuances within the program, so that when the trust is there, in the off season, it's easier to tap into that when it's the crunch time and when the lights are bright and the pressure's on. And I think that that's something that we really, I'm most proud of really, to be honest with you, is because I feel like that's what sets us apart. You know, I've told the story before, and I'll share it again. About a year and a half ago, I had a conversation with Rachel Lawson, right? I'm not sure anybody would call her Yoda, but in that moment, she was Yoda for me. And we were just talking about San Diego State and this program, and they were in San Diego playing in our tournament. And she said, you know, Nuva, you got something really awesome going on here. And I said, yeah, you know, I'm really, really proud of what we're building. And she said, you know, I've always said there's two ways you could be successful. You could be the best, like have all the best things, like the best resources, the best facilities, the best top of the line technology, or you could be different. And you guys are different. You have something different. You've got San Diego. I mean, I'm sitting outside in early February. I mean, I could be wearing shorts. I'm actually not, but I could be. As our backdrop. And then we have what the internal, like the meat and potatoes of the program, I think is what really does set us apart. It makes us different. And not to say that there aren't other programs with great cultures, but I really feel like those programs, the ones that sustain excellence over time, it starts in the clubhouse. And so we talk about like the hard work happens there. And then we get on the softball field. We're good. We have good players, but truly every program in the country has great players. It's the ones that take the great talent and build the family. In our case, we call it our tribe, and build the tribe. That's a strong family unit. And then you go out and you go do battle shoulder to shoulder. You trust who's right and who's left of you. And the success, the wins in that category will come. So I think that's really, I would say, our signature. And, you know, we develop talent and we train hard and we do all the things that everybody else is doing. But I think our kind of secret sauce is the way we communicate, is the way we build that tribe. And it also makes it fun. And I mean, I can't tell you the comments, this weekend being on ESPN and getting that exposure, and just how many people said how fun our team is to watch. And if you are fun to watch play the game that you love, and it's obvious that you love it, we're doing something right. You know, if you look like you're just in it to like get through to the seventh and get on to the next, then you know what, you're not going to be successful. So that's like one of the ultimate compliments, is just like your team looks joyful. They look like they love each other. They look like they're enjoying what they're doing. Here we go. Like, it's got to be fun. If it's not fun, we're in the wrong business.
A travesty that the weather made it so that last game was not televised on ESPN2. The walk-off grand slam from Shannon Cunningham was outstanding, but super fun to watch you throughout the entire weekend, like you said, and really the whole season so far. But who, outside of those big moments, of course, in the circle, in the box, whatever it is, these locker room leaders, like you're talking about, who stands out to you to create that culture on this team right now?
Yeah, so we went through a process this fall. We worked with an outside kind of consultants called Captains University, and it's a program really essentially to develop your team leaders and to sort of take our biases as coaches out of it and let it be a team-led process, which is really important to me. I value a team-led program. I want my players to feel like it's theirs as much as it's mine. So that process identified through the players, you know, obviously we were in the room and we were part of the conversations, but ultimately, like, the athletes chose who they felt their leaders were. And our leaders are dialed. I mean, Didi Hernandez, Kelly Decker, Bella Espinoza, and Lala Macario are like truly leading from the front, as they say. And just their Aztec pride, their accountability. I mean, they own their mistakes. They own when they fall short. They live out the core values of our program on a daily basis, and then they set the tone for everybody else. So whether you're coming in as a grad transfer for 1 year, you're a freshman, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and just trying to figure out which way is up, you know, you've got great, mature senior leadership. In this case, all of them are seniors who've been here for various numbers of years. You know, Didi and Bella have been here for 4 years. So they've watched the transformation of this program. Lala's, this is year 2 for her. Why am I blanking? Callie's in year 3. So like, and they all have different experiences, right? They've had some bumps in the road in their careers, and that's also resonates with our transfers, which is a significant part of our recruiting process. So we've kind of got all angles covered, if you will. And at the end of the day, it starts, like I said, it starts in the clubhouse. It starts with those key people that are bought in and trusting of the process, and are also human, right? Not perfect. And that's something we value as well, is like, hey, like accountability, it's not punishment, it's not punitive. It's, let's just own it, and myself included. I'll be the first one to say, like, Grace, like, my bad, that was a really crappy pitch call. Like, I'm gonna be better next time. Like that, it starts with me, right? Like, if I can say when I've made mistakes and when I've done things wrong, where if I had a do-over, I would do this and that, then I think it opens the door for everybody else to feel the same way. And I think that's a key part of our leadership style, is that we really want to instill is we're going to enjoy the fun, and we're going to also own the hard, and we're going to embrace the suck, as we say. And that's part of what we do as college athletes and coaches and things like that. So yeah, our captain group is top notch, and really, really proud of the way they're leading, not just in the clubhouse, but also on the field. I mean, all those names I mentioned are getting it done between the white lines as well. So really just setting the tone for us in all the ways.
Yeah, so important. You touched on your transfers just a little bit, and I know that you have fully taken advantage of the transfer portal, and it really seems like San Diego State has been the place for all of your transfers to really thrive, where they've really found their home and the place for them to really be themselves. And so I'd love to hear just your thought process on the transfer portal, and how important it is for you to find the kids, like you mentioned, that can add value to your culture, whether it's between the white lines or just what they're doing in the clubhouse. Just because I think that you have done such a beautiful job of using it to just what the transfer portal is meant to do is finding where the kids can thrive and where they should have been all along. Like, it just really seems like it's their home.
Well, I mean, you just said it for me. You said it for me. I mean, I think, everyone's journey is different, right? And everyone's experience is their own, is unique to them. And, the portal, in some ways I don't love it. Like, I don't love the way that it's just so easy to, make a change. So there's a part of me that struggles a little bit, because I value loyalty, right? As a human, I do. But I also, I want every athlete, and I say this to the players that we recruit, whether they come to us or not, I want you to end up where you're supposed to. And I hope it's in San Diego. I hope it's as an Aztec. But if it's not, like, go have the best experience of your life. If it's not here, go somewhere else and do that wherever that is. And so sometimes, when you're recruiting high school kids, understandably, here's the thing, zero ego for me. I get why the Power 5 or Power 4, why that world is attractive. I get it. You go to they take you to a football game and there's 100,000 people in the stands. You go and you're in a $25 million stadium, and you've got all the things. You're flying charter, and you've got more gear than you know what to do with. But what happens is they recognize that doesn't make the experience. So for a number of reasons, coaching changes, too far away from home, didn't get the playing time you hoped you would get, didn't ultimately fit in with the culture the way you thought you would. Whatever it was, it just wasn't a fit. So come back, not in every case, but a lot of cases, come back to Southern California, get closer to your family, be in a beautiful city. That's where you're not going to have all the things. This goes back to the Rachel Lawson thing. We're not going to have all the things. If that is important to you, this is not the program for you. Mm-hmm. But what we have found is that more often transfers that have gone that route and discovered that didn't ultimately fill their cup, they don't care anymore. That stuff doesn't matter. They just want to be valued. They want to feel at home. They want to feel like they're cared about as a human over a softball player. They want to be able to enjoy the game again. Like, one of the best compliments I can hear from a transfer in particular is, I came to San Diego State and I learned to love the game again. Yeah, mic drop. Like, okay, like, what else can we do for you? Like, if you can love the game again, then all of the hard stuff is not that hard. But if you're not happy, if you're uncomfortable, if you're feeling not valued, if you don't have a place, if you don't feel connected to what's happening, it sucks. Like the early mornings and the travel and the practices and all that, it's too much. But if you are invested and you feel like you are a valued member of the tribe, then you're good. You're good to go, and you're ready to run through a wall for this program and for your coaching staff and your teammates. So I think that really resonates with people. And when we first started talking about the things we wanted to do, we want to be perennial Mountain West champions. We want to be going to the postseason every year. We want to be going to that next level, Super Regionals, Women's College World Series. Well, now we can say we've done it. We're doing these things. So that competitively helps, because a lot of these athletes, they want the experience, but they also want to be good, right? They want to play on a good team. They want to play on a team that's going to win. So now we've got that sort of resume, if you will, to say, look, come and be a part of this. And so I really enjoy the transfer recruiting process. Not that I don't enjoy it from high school, but I feel like it's a little bit more of a level playing field, if you will. I think now with NIL, that's a whole new dimension. That's another challenge that we're facing, is how do we compete with that? We're not gonna, it goes back to, we're not gonna be the best. We're never gonna have a $2 million NIL deal for anybody. That ain't gonna happen, right? Like, it's just not gonna happen. But if that stuff isn't as important to you and you just really want the experience that you always dreamed of having, like, you can do that here. And we feel really confident we can say that confidently. And our alumni that have come through the program, however many years they've been here, they're our best, salespeople, if you will, because they lived it, right? They've been somewhere where they didn't feel right, and now they've had a phenomenal experience. And so, we include them in our process as well, as much as we can. Share your stories, tell them about what makes this place special. So, and it doesn't hurt that we get to play and year round outside. So, 70-degree weather year round is a pretty easy sales pitch as well.
Well, I think, are we all SoCal girls too, originally? I think we are. So we can appreciate that, right?
Yeah, you get it. You get it. Right. I mean, I can't, like I said, we were in the airport last night, and Kendall Fern, one of our assistant coaches, she goes, this is for us, we were like, oh my God, we're going to get home at midnight, and she's like, there's teams that do that for the first 5 weeks of the season. Yeah. Get over yourself. Like, we're doing it once, And I'm like, fair enough. It's not something we do that often, but it's tough. It's tough. I'm glad we don't have to do it. I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And you said it, postseason prep as well. Like, it's the big picture on top of it all. And you mentioned so many different things that I want to ask you about, because I could talk to you forever. I'm sure Amanda feels the same way, but one of them is, at first I wanted to mention that, I see exactly what you're talking about in terms of the transfer process and what it is at San Diego State. And the example of Gracie Uribe is one example on your team. Because I actually worked with the league that she played for in the summer, the GBCL, saw you come and watch her a little bit during that transfer process. She picked you guys, and she's loved it ever since. And she just seems so happy. Getting to see one example like that up front, or just up close and personal, and then actually see you guys play. I just want to say how cool that is. You see it all the time because that's part of your job. But I just had to say that from, an outside perspective, that's pretty cool to witness.
Yeah, it was actually a really cool, Grace is one of the most, and I've told her this to her. I'm not spilling any tea here. I've said this to her face, but she's truly one of the most unique athletes I've ever been around in terms of her off-field persona and just her vibe, I guess, and then her on-field. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody turn it on quite so intently. She's on another level of intense on the field, which I love, and also had to, sometimes have to be okay, let's take it. Let's not, let's dial it back a little bit. Just stay within yourself, But after I think it was the Virginia game, we were 4-0. This was this weekend, and we were just feeling it, right? We were oh my God, today we just beat Missouri and Virginia. After yesterday we beat Bama and Wichita State. What? This is freaking awesome, and full tears. She was just she had a breakdown. We were actually did the little huddle after the game, and we're sitting around, getting ready to just like do the break, like, Aztecs on 3, whatever. And she goes, hold on a minute, I need to say something. And she just said, I can't tell you how many people have commented to me this week about how much fun they see how much joy they see me playing the game with. And these are her family, these are her friends, these are people that have known her for a long time. And she goes, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy to be here and so proud of what we're doing and to be a part of this. And again, full on, like no holes barred tears. And it was like, obviously the rest of us then were in tears. So it was a pretty cool, but I think, to your point, her journey, like many others, had plenty of ups and downs, right? And now she just feels like she can just play the game, right? She's here. She's like, we were in Fullerton last weekend, and she had like 15, 20 people, family, friends that came to watch. That wasn't happening when she was in Texas. And so now she gets that family unit that's very, very important to her right here in her back pocket. And, she's one of many stories like that, but like you said, a recent example. And that's it. Like, these are great athletes. They just need to be in the environment that allows them to thrive. And, other people do it well too. We're not the only one trick pony in the country, but I think it's something we do well.
Gosh, what a testament to your program and what you're building to have somebody immediately come in their first year and be so willing to spill it and just make it known like how special it is and what you're creating. Like, so awesome, especially for your young ones to hear. Obviously she had a big experience in the SEC, but just to come back and like really like you said, all the bells and whistles, like, really doesn't matter. What matters is finding the place that you belong and that you can thrive. Like, that really made my heart warm, because as someone who I loved my experience, I just want everyone to love their experience, because there's nothing like college softball. There's nothing like playing in a program that you love. Like you said, you can look to your left and your right and what everyone's on the same page. So gosh, so special, like such a testament to you and your staff. Like I think that's probably the highest compliment you could ever be given as a coach, of just, you are their home and what you've created is and it's just really special. Like, that's really amazing. And I'm so happy for your players that are experiencing it. And then also it's playing out on the field as well with your performance and getting some huge wins. But now looking forward to just your goals. I feel like each year, obviously you guys, have a super regional under your belt and looking to make that next step. After that, do you think like your goals have changed? Of just, we have this standard now, so now this looks like this, or how do you get across to them of what? Because obviously it's not all about outcomes, like you said. Like, having that home and the culture is amazing too, but above all, you want to win softball games and make it to the World Series. So how do you make that known? Are you guys talking about outcomes at all in the fall? Talking about getting to Oklahoma City? What does that go into the process of leading up to season?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely talking about, Oklahoma City and for the players that were a part of our super regional team, we felt the high of that and just the like almost out of body experience of that first time. And then I think last year, in some ways, that I don't want to say worked against us. It sounds weird because the experience is awesome. But I think that it put this new pressure, right? This new, like, oh my God, like not only were we in a super regional, we were one win away because we won game 1 of that series. And we just needed one more game to punch a ticket and we fell short. So I think that, again, that's invaluable experience, and you can't fabricate that in any other way than just being there and doing it. But I think that in some ways that we, excuse my analogy, but we puckered up a little bit, right? Like, we puckered up a little bit in some of those bigger moments, because I think there was this, we have to do it. We have to get it done. We have to go back and get to supers again. And so I think I feel a sense of like, okay, like if we just play within ourselves, that stuff will come. We don't have to force it. We're forcing it a little bit. I know Callie would probably admit to that, right? Like last year she felt it because she was there. We did it. We were so close, and then we fell short. And now we got to go. We got to get back there again. So I think that there's almost a de-emphasis, to be honest with you. I mean, we talk about that, but we are very process based. Like, if we take care of the process, the game will take care of us. And I believe that wholeheartedly. You know, and I'll even just say in my own coaching, like, if I'm too tight about the win or the loss, my decision making isn't as good. I definitely am not enjoying the game because I'm a stress ball. But if I can just trust the preparation, trust the people, like, we're good, like, we're gonna be fine, we're gonna be good, you know. And again, I'm not perfect. I have moments where I feel myself getting a little tighter, but I really aspire to be, because they follow my lead. If I'm tight and feeling it and pressing, they feel it, you know. And I know you've all been there, right? You've been there, you've been around coaches, you feel the difference. And they're also human. Days where they're feeling it and they're tensing up, and days where they're just like absolutely not going there and just keeping an even keel. That's a very powerful message you send to your team to do the same. So, you know, we're pushing for Oklahoma City. Well, and I'll say this, first and foremost, get us out of the LA regional. If I'm being honest, send me somewhere else. Like, I mean, and I love UCLA, of course, but like, and there's other teams. I'm not saying that there aren't other teams that we would be like, oh God, we got to go there. But like, I'm ready for a new experience. So part of that comes from these early season wins, right? Like, get us out of our region. We really would like to give us a different experience. I mean, I've been at San Diego State for 17 years, and I've only ever, literally, in 17 seasons. Now, we haven't been to postseason every year, but I think out of like the 13 years of postseason, I've only ever gone to UCLA or Arizona State. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm done with that. Like, let's do something different. Let's play somebody different and go somewhere else, you know. And but again, it goes back to getting it done in the big games, getting it done on the big stage. And, you know, to circle back to this weekend, that's what this weekend was, is like, let's play on TV. Let's play with some of those kind of exterior factors that do actually factor in, as much as we wish they didn't. They do. Let's put ourselves in that pressure cooker right away and see how we do. And I think we answered the early season call for sure.
I think you're not the only one who would say, like, can we mix up how the seeding works every year in the postseason? Because that's certainly, you know, the miles rule, like, it has to be within a certain radius and all that stuff. I think a lot of people have opinions on that. Could be its own series if we wanted to dig into that.
Yeah,
but it's a good point.
I mean, I get it. It's a financial thing, but like, I really would like to believe our sport's beyond that now.
Yeah.
Just where we are, just the growth of the college game. Let's get beyond that. Let's not. Why is the UCLA regional literally the most difficult, toughest RPI region every single year? Come on.
Point.
That's not
It's
fair.
not fair for you and not fair for them.
No,
it's not.
It's really not fair to UCLA. Like, this is my primary focus right now, but it's not fair to them either. Why do they have to have that?
Correct.
And then other schools will have, you know, it's where you're like, seriously, you know. And again, everyone's a postseason team. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but like, we know how that goes. And other years, certain other programs, it's like, I feel like Florida gets that because Florida also has really good mid-majors in their area that are going to challenge them. So it's like, come on, let's be better than that. Yeah. But I'm also not writing the check. So, I mean.
Yeah. But you're playing the games, right? Like, your team is playing the games. So it makes sense. But you said our game being past that. Our game's growth. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, especially before you two are enemies, right? In the AUSL, when Amanda's with the Volts and you're leading the Bandits. But just the investment that you and the program, actually, having hosted AUX, as well as part of the Athletes Unlimited experience for softball. And then now you're part of the coaching group in that league. I asked you a version of this when I saw you in Clearwater, but to be more specific, when you're coaching this college season and you're with these players with that experience at San Diego State, but then you're also doing what you can to see that players like them can continue their career afterwards, after college. And that bridge is just so important. And you're somebody, of course, who's experienced all the levels, all the highest levels of softball. So just, I guess, your thoughts on what that could look like moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've done what I can do to be a part of professional softball and advance the game at that level, and a very small part, right? Just lending my support and coaching in the NPF and now the AUSL. But really, my aspiration for it, as much as I'm just focused on the Bandits primarily, one of the things I like the most right now is that we're building a league. So in the past, I was a Bandit in the NPF, but I was a Bandit. That's it. I wasn't really like on the train of the NPF. Like the NPF kind of was what it was, and then every team was funded completely differently, treated completely differently. The way they traveled, the way they were resourced. Whereas now it's like there's a level playing field, and we're all on the same team, and that's been unique because all the coaches and GMs, we're competitors and we want to win and we want to be successful, but like we have to keep reminding ourselves we're also trying to build something far sustaining, going long past the Bandits and what happens in our win-loss column, right? Like, yes, I want to win. Don't get me wrong, but like we're hoping to do something, build that foundation that goes far beyond this summer and the 4 teams involved. And what I hope is players like an Amanda Lorenz can be a true professional. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to do all these other little things here and there and blah, blah, blah. You can make a living, like a legit living, not just like make the rent payment, but like actually walk away with some money in your pocket at the end of the experience. The way that, I think the WNBA, they've done a great job. Now they have the NBA, the big brother, carrying the load. We don't have that right now, but we've got AU, and I think AU is about as close as we're going to get to like a legitimate, I guess, financial backing to allow for some things to happen to create some momentum, so that there is a way for the athletes to be professional softball players, not have to be coaches and clinics and camps and lessons and own facilities and all these other things that the people that the athletes are doing. Like, how can you expect yourselves to be the very best you can be when you're doing all these other things? And that's what it's been forever. So we've done it before, but again, we talk about it's time to go move beyond that. I think everyone here in this in this Zoom room is certainly ready to see that happen. And I think the game is ready for it. I think the fans are ready for it. We've got a great backing in the AUSL leadership, and now it's just a matter of building some momentum, building some cachet really with the league, and to where it's a respected, like the end all be all. We can't have all the other groups and everybody fighting for the same players. Like, once we get on the same page, that's it. Game over.
Mm-hmm. Amanda, you can still do this podcast though, even with the AUSL. Just saying.
I'm like, the whole time I'm just snapping.
Is one thing. A podcast is one thing, but like having to get on a plane and go do speaking engagements and clinics, and it just been there, done that, right? Like been there, done that, and it's. Totally. I don't want Amanda and people like her to have to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you could choose to. You could choose to do that, but
totally.
not like I have to do that to make this work.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Perfectly said. I mean, fire me up. I'm all in. We're obviously really excited about AUSL and having, the people that have really put in the work in for professional softball. They might not be playing in the league, but to have like you and Kelly and Kat, involved is really cool, because you guys have been in our shoes and know what our sport deserves. And obviously you guys have put in years of work for this to come to fruition, and it's only the start. So I think it's just going to keep getting better and better, and really excited to see where this thing goes. But thank you so much for your time. We are really looking forward to keep watching you guys compete, because it's been so fun to watch, and really excited to see what you guys can do this season.
Appreciate you ladies. And I'm here for all of that. I'm here for the AUSL. I'm here for college softball. I'm here for the Aztecs, and just excited to be on the stage and allow us to share our stories. So thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you. she's awesome.
Yeah, really great. It was so great to hear her talk about her tribe, as she says.
Yes, the tribe of Aztecs. Like I was like, I see what you did there. I appreciate it. And just like her overall perspective, like everything she's doing at San Diego State, that's her priority right now and for the whole season. But she does do a nice job of kind of balancing that with like, okay, take a step back, the softball world as a whole, how can I make an impact? And then it was just cool seeing you guys talk a little bit about AUSL too, to be honest, because that's obviously such an exciting thing coming this year in 2025. But I know you'll be on opposite ends, opposite dugouts when it comes, but still like a similar goal that you share, which is cool.
Totally, and really cool to see someone who's been there, right? Like she went through the grind, obviously with USA Softball, and then obviously wanting professional opportunities to stay and be consistent. So to see people like her who have been there and lived it to now like seeing the fruits of their labor come to fruition a little bit on the other side, but still to be involved is really cool. And definitely as current pros, we are really thankful to have someone like her involved.
Absolutely. It's what it's all about. And it's makes celebrating some of the really cool moments during the college season a little bit sweeter. And we love doing that every week. So we can head into the plays of the week.
So many good options this week, but I'm going to lead us off again. I don't know that I really need to add any commentary for this one, so I'm going to let it play.
But good fight in the seventh.
Into left field. This could go. It is gone! Virginia back in front.
Oh, just so incredible. I think the video speaks for itself, but Virginia hitting the walk-off against UCLA had her in an 0-2 count. Dog going nuts. Just so fun, like the pure joy. Virginia had been grinding through a lot of games, losing some heartbreakers, some really close games. So they were in control a little bit for the most part in the beginning of the game. UCLA fights back. So just a great game, but to see it end in that fashion was so exciting.
Shout out to the camera crew for ESPN because yes, the dog was just like the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Well done. I didn't see that when I was live there, but seeing that on TV was so good. It was so good. And I was actually behind home plate for this. And I think my jaw just dropped immediately. It was like, oh my God, this is happening. They were so fired up. Fired up.
Rightfully so.
Yes, as they should be. And I got to talk with MC Eden, who hit it afterwards, and her adrenaline was still going. You could tell. And she said, we're knocking on the door. She was one of those players who really felt strongly like that about her program. I think she said, we're knocking on the door. We're going to beat some people this year. And I was like, okay, girl, get it. I love that. Yeah. So you can check out that interview on social media too, on X and Instagram at D1Softball. If you haven't yet. We also talked with the head coach, Joe Harden, twice this weekend because they beat Kentucky earlier on as well. And she just talked about the emotions behind it. She was emotional. She told me before we started filming, she's like, I'm a crier too. This is just how, I'm processing it right now. So she was emotional when we talked because of just all the work that's built up to it. So that interview's on social too, if you want to check it out. So Amanda picked an offensive moment. No surprise. I'll pick a defensive moment. There were so many different things to choose from, like you said, Amanda, but I went ahead and went with this.
Ended up being a double play. Snagged by Ellisted. The backhand over to first. Got her. The glove work from Brooke at third.
This is an Alabama team that is just playing with a lot of passion, enthusiasm. Look at the way Brooke Ellisted is going to go down and make that immediately pop right back up knows that she's going to have that long throw across the infield, throws that actually from her knees, but a good job of turning that over and enough strength to get that across the infield.
It's obviously, I'm sure, as a former corner and a former third baseman myself, a little, little extra special, right? So Alabama's third baseman, Brooke Ellisted, she transferred from Louisiana. She made the throw from the knees. I actually saw this kind of play, people stopping the ball down the line like that, more than once this past weekend, but it's just harder than it looks. Like there's so many different pieces that have to come together for you to make this kind of play. Your first step, you have to stay low, the backhand. She sort of dove onto her knees, and throwing from your knees is not the easiest thing to be accurate and quick the way that she was, and just the overall awareness and doing what you got to do to get the out. I just
threw a dart from her knees too, like perfection.
Yes.
So
and that's
good.
like, you use your body to throw, right? And she had the strength without having her legs under her, like the core strength too. So many little things where I was just like, this deserves a moment.
Yes.
And the fact that it was a tight game there when they were playing Oklahoma State. Obviously, the end result was not what Alabama would have liked with the walk-off win from the Cowgirls, but to have a tight game under pressure and be in that situation, and then this is how you show up is pretty cool. All right. Well, again, the plays of the week are also wins of the week.
Yes.
But that we know that's automatic. But we have an official win and whiff of the week coming up.
I've got our win of the week this week. I saw this on social media and immediately sent it over to Jenna. I was like, this is the win. Like, these are the things that you always remember after your career is over, like the little things like this that are just so funny, laughing on the bus with your teammates. But just to set the stage a little bit, Carly Godwin hits that walk-off home run, and this is how she was greeted when she got on the bus after all of her interviews. This is what she walked into. I mean, so good, like getting the silent treatment, and she's just like, okay, I'll just mind my business and go to my seat. Like, it's kind of sad. Like, she's thinking like, oh, I'm coming into this hyped environment. And then, obviously they mob her with hugs and cheers after, but gosh, just so fun. I know these are the things that I miss the most about college softball. So it's just so fun. Loved it.
So good. So good. And they had more than one walk-off. I mean, in her case, it was a home run. But yes, They ended the weekend with the walk-off too. Hit from Rosie Davis to beat Alabama. And there were a lot of walk-offs this past weekend, actually.
So fun.
But I remember I chatted with Kenny Gajewski briefly after this game going into their next game. And he was like, yeah, I think there was a little bit of doubt, and they're starting to get back to, believing like they know they can and like they should really in themselves too. And so the consistency piece, I think, is what they're looking for as a team, but putting these moments together, like that's going to get it done for them. Well, the whiff of the week, just to be clear, by the way, it's not this actual play. It's the fact that not everybody got to see this moment. So let's take a look.
I was drafted late. I was 20 when I left for Germany. Walk off
So those on video can see the home video essentially. So Shannon's mom actually filmed this because of weather and everything. This is the whiff, not the actual moment. The whiff is that moment wasn't on TV. And it's no one's fault other than the weather. They had to change fields. They shifted game times a little bit to make sure they got the game in. And so therefore this was last minute, not on TV. So the whiff is that this was not on TV, because the game itself, let alone this last moment, was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I remember watching the live stats online. I was at the other set of fields, because there's 2 set of fields in Clearwater, and I saw it refresh and say home run, 4 RBIs, and I freaked out. Everyone was like, "What happened?" Because I jumped out of my chair in the press box or in the press area, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And we sprinted over there to talk to Shannon, who I had just met the night before. She was one of the people who had the family shirts and everything, and I interviewed her in the batter's box where she hit this, which was pretty
I
cool.
love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So another week of great softball, only more to come. And really, what's next? Some of the D1 team, including myself, will be in Palm Springs for the Mary Nutter tournament. So that's another big tournament that we see this time of year with postseason type matchups, which is really exciting. And we'll have a special edition. One of your friends, Amanda Sachel Palacios, is joining us for our on-site coverage of the tournament. Super excited to welcome her. Olympian with Team Mexico, played at ASU, played professionally in Athletes Unlimited, and actually just recently retired. So she'll be with us, which is exciting.
Amazing.
Yes. And did you play in this tournament, Amanda, in college?
I did, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So did I. And I just remember this was in the OU Kaylani Ricketts days. I remember we faced them. We played Tennessee back in the day. Like, there's some great matchups. So I'm really excited for it. And I give credit to the programs who don't shy away from those challenges in this schedule.
Definitely.
And so, with that being said, for those who stayed around this long in the episode, thanks. And I want to give you a little bit of a treat. So if you did stay around, we do have a little discount code for you. So 25% off D1Softball for any subscription, any type, monthly, annual, whatever it is. Just use season 25 as your code, and you can save for all of the amazing content that our writers put out as well. There's so many cool stories that you can take a look at, as well as tons of data, stats, all the scores for all the games going on. There's so much in there that you can take advantage of. So season 25, don't forget. Let us know what kind of content you're looking for too. We're always wanting to hear what you want more of. And then thank you for joining. Any last thoughts, Amanda?
No, we're excited for more. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next week.